Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Central Oregon. My name is Amy Brock, and I serve as the Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth. Today, I'm also your worship leader, along with one of our youth advisors, Jaz Halberstadt. I use she, her, or they, them pronouns. Whether your pronouns are she, her, they, them, he, him, if you aren't sure what pronouns fit best right now, or if you just want to be called by your name, you are welcome here. Whether you are 1, 11, 51, 100, or somewhere in between, you are welcome here. Whether your eyes are shades of blue or gray or green or brown, you are welcome here. No matter who you love or what your family looks like, you are welcome here. Whether you have arrived with laughter in your heart this morning or tears in your eyes or maybe both, you are welcome here. Today, we are exploring consent as a community practice. Some of you may be familiar with the Our Whole Lives or OWL curriculum, which explores human growth and development from birth through end of life care. Most Unitarian Universalist congregations offer OWL as part of their religious exploration program for children, youth, and adults. Jaz and I are both trained facilitators for these programs. While the service today is not part of our OWL curriculum, many of the ideas that we're inviting you to explore with us today are deeply connected to the wisdom that is woven into this OWL curricula. We are excited to explore these with you as a multi-generational faith community. For our Time for All Ages today, you will need some special things. You will need something that is red, mine looks more pink, something that is yellow, and something that is green. They can be anything, scarves, socks, cups, and you have a little bit of time to kind of find those as we move throughout our morning together before we get there. So find something so you can participate. To begin our time together, please enjoy our opening words this morning, inspired by the Reverend Kimberly DeBus. There are no good opening words, written long ago or even recently, that capture this very moment. We are in uncharted territory, taking up a task our past selves and our ancestors can only imagine. But here we are. We are all people this moment needs. And so let us take up our work in covenant, in faith, in pursuit of healing and holding. Let our work today be fruitful and helpful, despite our fears and uncertainties, despite our anxieties and maybe frustrations. And let us perhaps chart a new course or remember an old one that says, wherever we are here together today, and we can always begin again and again and again. Please join us this morning in singing hymn number 1074, Turn the World Around, with Michael Tacey.
the river wash the mountain, fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the spirit, truly of the spirit, only can the spirit turn the world around. Whoa, so is life about to so is life. Whoa, so is life about to so is life. Whoa, so is life about to so is life. Whoa, so is life about to so is life.
Our chalice lighting this morning is We Carry Our Faith into Action by Crystal Hogan. We light this flame, symbol of our faith, to beckon us into community, warm our hearts with love, and give us a light to follow as we carry our faith into action.
Good morning. My name is Chayla Sloper, and I'm your Congregational Life Facilitator, and I have today's announcements. First, a very warm welcome to all who have gathered, and especially those who might be visiting for the first or second, third time. As Amy was saying before, you are welcome here. And if you'd like to let us know that you were visiting with us today, we have a virtual visitor form that will be available in the chat. And you can sign up for our communications, and that way you can hear about what's going on. And as we're taking steps toward opening up the full congregational involvement in our Sunday worship services, which will be on September 12th for our in-gathering. However, there's good news. Beginning Sunday, August 1st, if you'd like to go to the church building for Sunday worship and watch Zoom together, we're going to be setting up Linus Pauling. Come anytime after 9:30 in the morning. There will be volunteers either from the board or from the COVID task force that will have everything set up for you. So that'll be beginning August 1st. So those Sundays you can come to the church, share the service together, watching Zoom in Linus Pauling. So between now and then, there are a few things going on. So Always Friday Meditation has decided to continue meeting by Zoom. So that's Fridays at 10. The Fill Your Cup discussion, Shannon Adams is going to be in the driver's seat through at least July. So that's going to be happening Wednesday mornings at 10. Thank you very much, Shannon. And then also we have a couple of other things. There's a few food-related social justice opportunities. This coming Thursday, the dinner at Bethlehem Inn, there's a few openings for making mixed vegetables. I want to especially thank those who had responded to the urgent call. About a week and a half ago, we had almost no signups, and it has filled up. So thank you so much for keeping our faithful dinner offering at Bethlehem Inn going. And so there's just a couple more opportunities to make mixed vegetables. Then also next Saturday, the Nourish program invites you to help out at Family Kitchen. That's from 8:45 in the morning till 1. All the food, all the materials are there, and they're just looking for additional volunteers. And if you'd like to do that, send an email to nourish@uufco.org. And that way they'll let you know how many more volunteers are needed. So that's for next Saturday. And then a week from Tuesday, so not this Tuesday, but beginning on July 27th, Jonathan Bile, our events manager, has set up some Wellness Tuesdays. And so that we'll have a sound bath opportunity that evening on July 27th. And so there is a fee available and no one is, or a fee requested, but no one will be turned away for lack of funds. And that's going to be an interesting opportunity. Bring a mat or a blanket, a pillow, if that helps you lie on the floor comfortably. And then with singing bowls, just to be immersed in a bath of sound. So that's one of the first offerings for the Wellness Tuesdays. So I think I've covered the bases. Nourish, Bethlehem Inn, Friday meditation, fill your cup, Zooming together beginning August 1st. And so with that, blessings on your day.
All right, and we are having an RE event this afternoon at the church from 12 to 1. If you would like to come and participate in our water play event for all ages, feel free just to send me a chat and let me know that you're coming, or send the host a chat and let them know, and they'll give me that information. We would love to have you if you have not RSVP'd for that. Some water play games and stuff like that. All right, so let's see who found their red, yellow, and green items for our time for all ages today. Let's see. Can I see them? I see some out there. A few. Yeah, nice. All right. Well, we are going to need them so that we can explore our story together today. So listen very carefully because I'll be asking you to share them with us at different times. So once upon a time, there was an astronaut named Frederick. An astronaut is a space explorer who learns about space and sometimes gets to visit there in a rocket. This is Freddie. Now, Freddie, as they preferred to be called, also identified as a frog. They were a very special frog who liked to spend time doing things on their own. When they were by themselves, they could sing as loud as they wanted, they could jump as high as they wanted, and they could run as fast as they wanted. And sometimes they liked to spend time with friends, and sometimes they liked to spend time alone. But it wasn't as much fun for them when they spent time alone because they didn't feel as happy with others as they were by themselves, right, Freddie? Yeah, okay. So one day, Freddie was working on a spaceship when they received an unexpected visit from a friend. Now, most of the time when friends come to visit, they ring a doorbell, or they might knock on the door, or they might at least yell, hello. But this gives people a time to kind of make a choice about how they want to connect with each other. But that's not what happened this time. This time, Luna the bunny crept quietly along the side of the spaceship until she got right next to Freddie, and then she yelled, hi! And that startled Freddie. And there's so many different ways that Freddie might have felt about this in the moment. I wonder how you think Freddie might have felt. Can you show me green for feeling good, yellow for maybe being unsure, or red for feeling kind of unsafe or unhappy? Yeah. Different ways that we might feel when we have different interactions with people. I wonder how Freddie was feeling. Freddie, can you show us how you were feeling? Oh, let's see. Let me help Freddie pick a color. There we go. Okay. It looks like Freddie was maybe feeling a little unsure. It was a little bit startling the way that Luna approached them. Yeah. You know what Freddie did after that? Well, they ran away to their favorite tree and they cried. Yeah, they were really sad. They cried because their body felt kind of uncomfortable in that moment when Luca appeared unannounced. And they cried because they liked Luca, but it was kind of scary for them to experience that. And they cried because that just wasn't really what they wanted to happen that day. And you know what? Luca went home too. And she cried too. She had some sad tears. Yeah. She had wanted to say hi to Freddie and she was looking forward to connecting with them. And she thought it would be so fun to surprise them. And she knew that she would feel good by being surprised like that. And she had thought Freddie might feel excited too. But now she was just sad. Sad that she hadn't asked Freddie first how they might feel about her stopping by unannounced. And sad that she hadn't been more gentle with her voice. And sad that Freddie was now sad because of the impact of her actions. The next day, though, Freddie was feeling much better. And so they went to the swamp store and they found the cricket aisle. And in that aisle was one of their best turtle friends, Mo. This is Mo. Mo, Freddie shouted as they hopped hastily toward them. And you know what happened next? Well, Freddie grabbed Mo's neck and gave them the biggest hug. And then Mo did something interesting. Mo pulled their head back into their shell. And Freddie was a little confused. Yeah. They kind of stood there staring awkwardly at Mo, wondering what to do next. How do you think Mo might have been feeling? Maybe we should ask Mo how they were feeling. Mo, how are you feeling when Freddie gave you a hug? Oh, I'm glad you're feeling okay now. I'm glad you can come out of your shell. I can help you choose a color if you want. Oh. Mo said that they were feeling kind of scared. They picked red. That made them feel a little bit uncertain. They like hugs, but they like to have some time to think about it before people come into their personal space. Yeah. Sometimes we all need time to think and feel into our bodies before we say yes or no to things, don't we? Yeah. Okay. Well, as Freddie was leaving the store that day, they saw Luca. Luca was hopping through the forest nearby, and as Luca approached Freddie, she wasn't quite sure what to say, but she started by apologizing and taking responsibility for her actions. She said, "I'm really sorry that I didn't ask if it was okay to come by when you were working on your spaceship." And she said, "I should have knocked and let you know that I wanted to come and see you." And Freddie said, "Thank you." And they said they would have very much enjoyed her company and explained that it just startled them a little bit when they showed up unannounced. And Luca said she understood and promised to ask next time. Yeah. Later that week, Luca did come by. And when she got to Freddie's door, Freddie gladly opened it. They enjoyed an afternoon of working on their spaceship and laughing together. And now Freddie and Luca and Mo too, they've learned a lot from their experiences with each other. And they've learned that it's important to ask for what we need and listen to our bodies and ask our friends about how they want to connect with us and how it helps them when we connect with them. Yeah. So they are all practicing a culture of consent in their community. Yeah. Consent is a word that means that we ask and we listen to each other. It means that we think about how we want to be together when we are in the same space together, when we share spaces. Yeah. It's a good thing to think about as we play with others this summer, both at UUFCO and all around our community in Bend. And so ends our time together today. Let's all say our children's covenant. In this place, I am kind. In this place, I am loving. In this place, I am a friend to the earth and all animals and people. In this place, I am loved. One of the most special things about being in this community is that we not only gather to share our joyful things, but also the sad things and the mad things and the worrisome things and the hopeful things. In a few moments, the chat box will open and you will have an opportunity to tell us all about how your heart is feeling this morning. Knowing how we feel is the first step to being able to tell someone else how we feel. We can't say yes or no with our voice if we don't feel it in our hearts. This is one of the things that we mean when we talk about being a community of consent. And I think Peggy has a song to share with us this morning as we connect to our feelings and consider sharing those experiences in this space.
When I was little, my favorite animal was the elephant, but I called it the Ummet Ummet. And the song I'm going to play for you today is about an elephant. It could be an elephant of any color, and it's a very sweet elephant, and it's written by Claude Debussy.
Okay. Excuse me, I have to stabilize something here. Here we go. Stay there. Move here. Okay. This morning's reading, I have this morning's readings from Amanda Udis Kessler. This morning and all mornings, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to our individual lives, to our delights and pains. We are called to understand and cherish ourselves, to take good care of ourselves, to know ourselves as loving and worthy of love. In paying attention to our lives, we give thanks for all that is good in them and work to make the best decisions we can to help us live fully and joyfully. Today and all days, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the people in our lives, to celebrate their joys with them, and to tend to them in their struggles. We are called to bring our compassion, kindness, and patience to our relationships, even as we are grateful for the compassion, kindness, and patience others show us. In paying attention to the people in our lives, we give thanks for their presence and work to support them to the best of our abilities. Throughout our lives, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the society in which we live. We are called to understand the ways in which the lives of people we don't know and never will know are made harder by political and economic policies that value some kinds of people over other kinds of people. In paying attention to our society, we give thanks for the many people who are working for justice for everyone, and we join in working with them so that all people are treated with the dignity and worth they possess. In all that we do, we are called to pay attention. We are called to pay attention to the natural world around us. We are called to understand how our decisions help the natural world to flourish or cause it harm. In paying attention to the natural world, we give thanks for the ways it sustains and enriches our lives. And we commit to living sustainably so that all beings have the chance to live, and so that many generations after our own can celebrate the planet and its gifts. Love, compassion, gratitude, and the demands of justice call us to pay attention. As we pay attention, we bless ourselves, each other, our society, and the world.
I'm Jaz Halberstadt, and I'm going to and today I have some reflection, and I'm going to start with a story. So the other day, I was teaching a water adjustment swim class for 3 and 4-year-olds. I love being in the water and helping small friends learn to love it too. Some of my little friends are braver or more tolerant than others when it comes to having water on and around their heads. We were all playing and enjoying ourselves when one of my students decided it would be fun to dump water on their classmate's head. Instead of saying, "No, please don't do that," I decided to take the moment to teach a small lesson on consent. I explained that everyone feels differently about having water on their head, and it's really important that we ask our friends if we can do something like that before we do it. I helped the swimmer ask the question, "Can I pour water on your head?" Their friend gave an enthusiastic yes, and they continued to play. I tell you this story to illustrate how consent culture can be immersed in all aspects of our lives, not just intimacy. When we walk through our lives thinking about our actions and their impact on others, we uphold our first principle and treat everyone with dignity and respect. Even in our smallest actions, like playing in a pool with our friends. In the Our Whole Lives 7 through 9 curriculum, we teach youth that consent needs to follow some specific criteria. Let's take a little time to really dive into what consent means beyond just permission. First, it must be freely given. The OWL curriculum writers even go on to explain that if no is not an option, then yes is meaningless. This is something I see in school as a teacher. We may ask a student on an assignment, "Can I fix that for you?" Or "Can I show you what you did wrong?" But a student knows they are expected to comply. No really is not an appropriate answer due to the power dynamic at play. Therefore, those questions really aren't upholding consent culture. I'm not a parent myself, but I can imagine this might come up from time to time in parenting. So parents, next time you ask your child if you can help them, is there really an option to say no? Just something to consider. 2, it must be given through mutually understandable words or actions. This is where being explicit is really important. So when you agree or don't agree, you know exactly what that entails. My swimming buddy asked specifically about pouring water on their friend's head, not just pouring water on you, because getting splashed in the face versus being splashed on the arm are two very different experiences. 3, it must be in the present. Just because something was okay yesterday or an hour ago doesn't mean it's okay right now. Think back to a family or close friend gathering as a kid. Were you expected to say hello to grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles the same way every time, maybe through hugging? That expectation is not upholding consent culture. This concept can be hardest on those closest to us, especially when children are fine with hugs and snuggles at one family gathering, but the next time they really don't want that hug from grandma. However, that is their right over their body to say, "No, thank you," or "How about a high five instead?" So making sure we stay diligent in being present is key. And 4, it must be given for each specific act. For example, let's think about COVID and masking. Maybe you are comfortable being maskless outside with your vaccinated friends, but not inside. The more specific you are around your expectations, boundaries, and body autonomy, the better. COVID has been a very challenging time, but in some ways, it has given families, friends, and communities an opportunity to practice consent culture in a truly authentic way around our everyday lives. It is now common to ask, "Are you hugging? What about a fist bump or hand hug instead? Can I take my mask off?" These questions became normalized during a tumultuous time, but they don't have to leave just because our world is looking more like it used to. In the future, instead of asking about masks, maybe the person on the airplane will ask to take their shoes off before stinking up the row. Or maybe an auntie will ask their niblet if it's okay to hug. We can normalize consent, like we have started to normalize asking about pronouns through simple routines that build on each other, putting people's inherent worth and dignity first, and changing cultures for the better. I challenge you in this next week, month, or even year to try and incorporate consent and all 4 of its essential pieces into your everyday actions and decisions. When consent becomes the norm, consent violations become criticized and no longer tolerated. Unfortunately, we are still living in a society where consent violations happen all the time, and the root of this issue is usually swept under the rug. But it's small, everyday actions, questions, and considerations that begin to shift the paradigm. So the next time you're in the pool, ask before you splash, because somebody is going to notice that you respected their body and their choice on how to be. Please join us in singing hymn number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire, with Michael Tracy.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but be not given by love within, thy prophets soon turn strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are free.
What does our Unitarian Universalist faith call us to consider when we think about consent? Our faith is such a rich one that arrives from many sources, values, and voices to be in one community together. The following individuals of faith were interviewed for a project entitled Faithful Consent by the Unitarian Universalist Association and Our Whole Lives Creators. They had some really thoughtful things to say about how consent fits with their values as people of faith. Let's see what they had to say.
Well, consent matters because consent is about the reduction of violence and harm against ourselves and against others. Consent is really about how do we choose to be in relationship to our own bodies and in relationship with other bodies. And that relationship is about willingly agreeing to enter into some kind of interaction, relationship, or anything with not just myself, but with other people as well. So consent is important because it first helps me to understand what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And if I want to do something and I consent to it, that feels good. If I don't want to do something, but yet I still consent to it, that begins to be violent towards myself and others.
So I think it matters because it's a way of us loving, respecting, and treating each other gently.
think one myth about consent is that it's simple. We tend to think about it as though it's a one-time thing, that it doesn't have to be revisited, that it isn't part of a conversation and a continued engagement with our partner or with whoever we're talking to or thinking about in that situation. I think it's important to understand that consent is relational, that it involves a back and forth, that it involves a lot of curiosity, continued revisiting, checking in, that it isn't simply a business transaction or a one and done conversation.
Well, one myth about consent is that I cannot withdraw my consent after consenting to something. So sometimes we believe that if I say yes to something, then that's a complete yes that's going to be enacted for like ever. That yes is only validated from moment to moment, and that validation is based upon my comfort in the situation. So if I agree or consent to being in a sexual relationship or in some type of arrangement like that, then I may consent initially, but I can withdraw my consent 1 minute into it, 5 minutes into it, or towards the end. So my consent is conditional upon how I feel safe in the moment.
In order for me to uphold the inherent worth and dignity of other people, and in order for me to provide justice, equity, and compassion in my relationships with other humans, I have to have consent in those relationships.
My experience of Episcopal services is that everyone goes up to the altar to drink from the same cup of wine and eat bread that's been broken by the pastor and blessed. Drinking from the same cup actually reminded me more about the meaning behind Eucharist, which is that all human beings are part of one body, the body of Christ. And we are drinking from the cup because we are combining our souls and participating in something together. And I think that meaning sometimes can be lost when we're drinking from different cups. When I was thinking about consent and how that relates to my faith, I was thinking that if we're all part of one body, if one part of our body harms another without their consent, we're really harming ourselves.
I am a Buddhist teacher and minister, and in Buddhism, we really believe in the reduction of violence and harm. So if I really am committed to reducing harm and violence, then I have to really commit to consent.
Doing the work of activism and changing the culture is allowing people to express their confusion, is allowing people to talk through their confusion and understand ultimately that consent is about the impact that it has on both people, whether that's positive with joyful consent or whether that can be really traumatic and negative. And I think the only way to really get a deeper understanding of consent is to have open and honest conversations.
Part of my draw to doing both domestic violence and sexual assault work, as well as the current work I do around reproductive justice, is opening up conversations that are tricky in the church and encouraging people of faith to recognize that sure, it might feel awkward, it might feel hard, and yet all of these conversations really matter. And if you can't go to your faith community and ask questions about consent or about your body or about your beliefs, where are you supposed to be able to go that can really hold you and love you and lift you up while you're seeking to know yourself more deeply?
I think patriarchy is the central system that has perpetuated sexual-based violence against women, against people who occupy gender-expansive identities, and also violence against other men. Patriarchy is this one system, I think, that we will not survive until we confront. We have to look at the ways in which men in particular are conditioned to have power over other people's bodies. We have to look at the ways in which boys are conditioned into this system that is directly related to how they will relate to other people's bodies as they grow older. So much of our abolishing and undoing of patriarchy has to be about essentially mourning, that we have to go into a mourning that helps us to let go of these conditionings that many of us were raised with in order to let them go and to enter into a space and a period that's essentially post-patriarchal. Post-patriarchal meaning that we are in power with, not in power over anyone.
There are so many pieces that we might unpack here. And the great thing is that, like consent itself, conversations about consent are not a one time experience. As we learn about and lean into the practice of consent, not only with our partners and loved ones, but as a universal practice with everyone that we connect with, more questions and connections are sure to arise. But I'd like to invite you to lean into that last thought that Lama Rod Owen shared with us this morning. He invites viewers to enter into a space of post patriarchal mourning, one where we might work to be a people that are in power with one another and not in power over one another. One of the ways that we practice our skills of being in power with one another is through covenant. And covenants are promises that we make to each other. I'll share a congregational covenant toward the end of our time together today. But did you know that covenants don't have to stay the way that they are written? That's the really special thing about covenants. They are living documents that invite us to continually be in reflection around what is important to promise to one another and to hold one another accountable to. They are what keep us safe and help us stay supported. They are our red light, our green light, and our yellow light that help us communicate effectively with those that we engage with. They are what help us lovingly say at times, this is in alignment with what we are working toward. Or, I'm not so sure about that. It asks that we take a moment just to pause, call into our actions with one another, and to think about the impact that our intentions might have. Our Unitarian Universalist faith asks us to be radically curious, but never at the expense of the care of another. Just to be clear, to ask, may I? Can I? Is it okay if? How would you feel about it if? This is consent in action. And I wonder if it's something that we find easy or more challenging. Much of the time, we are in the habit of practicing consent in our actions with new people. When we don't know them, we don't know what they like, and so we have to ask. But as we get to know them, we might feel like we don't have to ask so much. Kind of like Luke with the bunny. Yeah, there's your face. This is where we might harm someone if we are not consciously practicing consent as a community. My spouse and I have been having many conversations about how to care for young people as we prepare to be new parents in September. As I was explaining how to change diapers recently, I was reminded of one of the first professional development classes that I took as a very young preschool teacher. The facilitator shared that although we were very busy throughout our day, it was super important that we support our young toddlers in their understanding of consent and body autonomy by asking questions and giving them choices when we change their diapers every day. And I remember thinking, have you ever met a toddler before? Their favorite word is often no, and changing diapers is definitely a non negotiable part of their day. The thought of trying to integrate this new consent task was daunting. What would I do if I asked questions that they said no to? Would I have time to do that? But in the end, my yu spirit of curiosity won out, and I started looking for spaces within our daily diaper changing moments when I could ask questions and offer choices. And to my surprise, my students didn't say no to my questions, and they really seemed to appreciate those choices. And the many minutes that we spent with each other during those diaper changes throughout the day turned into really, really important times of connection. It gave us more space to learn together, to practice consent, and to build a culture of care that extended to all of the other moments in our classroom. I share this story from my own consent practice journey because I remember when pausing to ask questions sometimes felt like an unnecessary extra step that would take so much time. In reality, though, it only takes a few moments to ask and then wait until we hear a clear answer to guide us forward in every single interaction. What a strong community we might continue to cultivate together if we each took a few extra moments to practice our covenantal promise to each other by practicing consent in each and every interaction. As we prepare to end our time together today, may we be reminded of the promises that we have made to one another as a people of faith. May we hold consent as a practice of care near and dear to our hearts when we interact online and when we're able to be together in person again. And may we also remember the promises that we have made to ourselves by asking our own hearts for consent and then pausing to listen to our body's responses as we move throughout our days together and apart. Please join me in singing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us, with Michael Tacey.
Love will guide us, Jesus guide us, open side us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace try us, open side us, really the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the night. Love will guide us through the night.
Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Following the service today, you'll have an opportunity to honor the commitments that we make to each other by contributing to our offering. A slide with information to guide you in this will be available, and we are so grateful for your gifts. There will also be an opportunity to stay and attend the breakout room if you wish to say hello to others this morning. So please plan to stick around after the closing words if you wish to participate in our breakout time together.
Our chalice extinguishing words come from Jim McCaw, Go in Peace, Seeking Justice. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go into mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace, seeking justice. I mean, go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace.
So I'm here as the traffic monitor to invite you to stay where you are if you'd like to join the virtual coffee hour. And then be sure to press the red leave button if your cup is filled and you want to reflect on the lessons of this service together as you go into your day. So yeah, we'll be able to meet together in our virtual coffee space and continue talking about the ideas of consent, what it means to have consent culture. I wonder, Amy, is there a particular question that you would like us to reflect on? You could either tell us or write in the chat. What would you suggest?
We don't have a question today. I invite you all just to connect with each other, practicing consent in action.
Very good. So great. So if you're sticking around, then we'll see you shortly in our chat room together. And for those who might be curious, I'm on location in Gresham, right above Johnson Creek. So that is the woods behind me. And depending on the numbers, yes, here we have postlude happening. Okay, take it away, Peggy.